Welcome back to the channel, everybody. If you haven't been here before, my name's Cliff. This week's video is going to be on a very specific topic of tips and tricks for putting in barbed wire fencing in rolling country or country that's not flat. Now, these are things that work for me. It's not the way. I'm sure there's all kinds of people that do it all kinds of ways, and that's okay. I do this a lot, and this works for me. So I'm going to show you how to build a no-weld metal H-brace. So this H-brace is going to be built out of 2 3/8 used oil field tubing. I live in California, very common and cheap. Cheaper than a railroad tie, it'll never rot, it'll never burn, which burning is a real thing where I live. It happens. Each one of these is in the ground 3 feet with 240 pounds of concrete. 4 60-pound bags, 3 feet down, a foot diameter hole. So the things I'm going to use for this, besides the post, the 2 3/8 oil field tubing, is these are chain link fittings. So this is called a brace band. It's 11 gauge, an inch wide, heavy duty. This is called a rail end, 2.5 inch OD rail end, and then a 1.5 inch by 3/8 inch carriage bolt. So these are made for chain link. You can buy these online. That's what I do. I get them shipped to my house. I'll put the link in the description for the website for both of these. If you have a really good chain link store wherever you live, you might be able to buy these where you live, but I can't. So that's what I use. So I'm going to put the top of this band at 45 inches, which I marked there, above ground level. Right there. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other one, which I already did, 45 inches ground level. And the reason I'm going ground level or above ground level, not truly level. So because my ground right here slopes up, this horizontal is not gonna be level, because what's gonna happen is if you put it level, it's gonna be closer to the ground on that end, higher on this end, but my wires aren't gonna be, because my wires are gonna go with the flow of the T-posts uphill. So what'll happen is you'll have this level H-brace, and then your wires are gonna go like this. And it just looks weird, and it's not as strong. So it doesn't matter what the pitch is, because some of the stuff I do, it's really steep. This post might be 2 feet higher than this one, because we're building on a slope like this. So I don't go level with this horizontal one. I go above ground level, the same distance on each side. So this one, I did the same thing. There's my mark, 45. So now I'm just gonna hold these up like this. I'm gonna measure the inside diameter from each one and cut a pipe to put in it. All right, I got my pipe cut for my horizontal. I have a Milwaukee plug-in bandsaw and a little tiny generator I carry with me. Super handy tools, doesn't throw a spark, so I can do this in the summer. So I'm gonna slip one end in. And this one, put it on. Slip it back down, find my mark, which was right there. And then cinch it up. So there's a couple more steps we have to do to make this thing solid. Because right now, these 2 points will just hinge. No matter how tight I try to tighten that down, they'll still move under tension. So if I try to tighten this wire on, this whole brace is actually gonna flex and pull that way. It'll pull these posts over. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put 2 tie-back wires from this post. So I get another brace band and I put it 8 inches below that with the ears facing the direction the fence is gonna go. Tighten it down. We're gonna take one more, put it on top of this brace band with the ears facing the way the fence is gonna go, tighten it up. And then on this side, we're gonna put another brace band down low, about 2 inches off the ground. Just like that. So what's gonna end up here is we're gonna put a tension wire that's gonna go from here to this one. And then from here, we're gonna pound T-post in the ground, about 2 feet. It sticks out of the way. We're gonna pound this T-post in the ground about 2 feet away from this one. I always try to put it about 2/3 across this brace, and this brace is 7.5 feet wide. I've got 12.5 gauge barbless wire. Gonna attach it to this T-post I put in, take a few reps. And then we're gonna come up over this bottom brace band. Back down around there. And do it again. Attach that one, take a few reps. So now I'm gonna do that same thing from this brace band up to the top brace band that we put on the horizontal up there. So now these wires are still loosey-goosey. So we have to twist them together and tension them. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the middle of this run, and then keeping both sides of the wire separate, I'm just gonna start to twist them. You wanna be really careful when you're doing this. No distractions, no kids running around, no phone dinging. If this slips, it's gonna come back and whack you, and you're gonna be going to the dentist to get some implants for some teeth. So I get it started. And you could use anything. You could use a pry bar, slim piece of pipe, something like that. So you just start twisting. It's gonna suck this brace together, and it's gonna keep the brace from shifting that way. And it's a balancing act between these two wires. So you get one semi-tight and you do the other, and then you kind of go back and forth till they're both about the same tension. Because if you twist more on one, it'll loosen up the other. So that's pretty taut, pretty taut. I can usually get that back in the ground a little bit more, help tighten it up. So that's how I build all metal H braces with no welding. Because a lot of the places I go, I can't get a welder. And even if I could, 9 months out of the year, the grass is brown and it's really hot. And I'm not gonna be the guy that burns down the community. You can also do this same setup out of 2 7/8 pipe and 3.5 inch pipe. They make the same fittings for them on that website. And if you live in a place where used oil filled tubing is a thing, you can probably get both of those sizes. So this is 2 3/8, but you can get 2 7/8 and 3.5 inch to do this if you want. This has served me fine for a lot of years, the 2 3/8. It works out well for me. So let's get to stretching wire. Got my bottom wire stretched out between 2 braces, 1 on each end. That's gonna give me my straight line to pound in my posts. I'm gonna use that bottom wire as my guide wire. Now when you're fencing in country that's not flat, which almost never happens to me, you're gonna end up going over highs and lows like this, through gullies and stuff. There's my wire. And right now, down here, it's about, it's above my waist. So what we need to do is we got to get that wire down where it needs to be 10 inches off the ground. If you try to do it just with the T-posts, that wire is going to always want to pull up. So eventually if your soil gets real wet, you get your wire really tight, your soil gets wet, it's going to pull that wire, it's going to pull the T-post up out of the ground eventually is what's going to happen. So we got to keep that wire down. So we're going to put in a tie down. Some people call it a tie down, a dead man, an anchor, whatever you call it, it's the same purpose. So I usually use old T-posts for this, not new ones I rip out, because you don't see very much of these ones above ground. And why spend $6 on a new one when you have an old one you can use? All right, so we want to find the lowest spot in this run. So we're going to go to the highest place the wire's off the ground. Which is about right there. So this post, we're not gonna pound it in vertically because we don't want it to pull up once this wire gets tensioned. So we're gonna put it in at a 45 on the same side of the wire that the T-posts are going. So I'm putting my T-post on this side of the wire. I'll put this on that side of the wire. So I'm gonna go grab the pounder and I'll pound this in as deep as I can get it. If you don't have a gas pounder, get one. You always put it in, the button's facing down. Button's facing down because that's what we're gonna grab. It's gonna grab our wire that we're gonna, 6-foot piece of barbless wire. Gonna find a button on there, wrap it around, and then use my pliers to twist this on really tight. I'm using barbless wire. And then this is gonna be vertical, so it's gonna go straight up. So I want my bottom wire, I'm doing 10-inch spacing on this fence. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I know my pliers are 10 inches long. So that's where I want my wire to end up. So I'm gonna go a little lower because I know once I try to coil this on here, it's gonna come up a little bit. So we'll go down to about 9 inches. Loop my smooth wire over, come under it, and come around it in a half hitch, back up. So I'm gonna do that 4 more times. So this is what's gonna be holding this wire down into this gully. Like I said, if we don't do it, because when we're done with this wire, it's gonna be tight. It'll eventually, if the soil gets wet, it'll eventually try to release the tension on itself and it'll pull the T-posts out of the ground. They're not strong enough to keep it down. T-post only grows in the ground a foot. So we pounded 4.5 feet of that in the ground at an angle and the tension's going straight up. So this is never gonna pull this way out of the ground. This run I'm working on is about 690 feet. I usually try to keep my runs around 1/8 of a mile, half a roll of barbed wire, 660 feet. Just seems to work out well, especially since most of the time I'm not on flat land. So I put the braces every 660 feet or somewhere around there that's physically possible. Sometimes the terrain, rocks, trees will dictate where your braces end up. One thing that's gonna happen on these big long runs is the point you're tightening from, it's gonna feel like you're really tight. But this wire is 12.5 gauge barbed wire, and it has a memory and some stretch in it from when it went on the roll at the factory. If you're using high tensile wire, this isn't a big thing. So if you think it's tight enough, what you need to do is go out to the middle of your run. So I'm about in the middle or wherever it's physically possible. Don't ever put your legs against this stuff. Nothing out here is worth my femoral artery or yours. So what's gonna happen is you're gonna take the stretch out of this wire by doing a vector pull, I guess we could call it. And the wire loosened up so much, I can't get it back to where it was. It's got so much slack in it now. You probably get 2 more feet of pull out of this just from doing that. And that's what gets your wire tight. On really long runs, you have to do it in multiple places to try to get all that memory and stretch out. And if anybody's helping you do this while that's going on, I always have everybody stand way back in case something breaks or busts loose somewhere. I always put my wire, if feasible, facing the side that's going to get the most pressure from an animal. So this particular property, she is having problems with random cows that just wander loose around here, breaking in. She only has a horse. Her horse isn't breaking out, but the other cows are breaking in. So I put the wire facing this way on the button side of the post. If it was the opposite, if she was worried about her animals putting pressure on it, I'd put it the other way. That's how I determine what side the wire goes on. So when you get down to this point where you have to pull down and have somebody help you, they have to loosen it as you're pulling to give you the right tension. I always do this to the point where it seems like I might start to break something, then I stop. That's good. At least it gets lighter the further I go. This is a T-post clip. This is a T-post clip turning tool. So first thing I do, when you get them out of the package, this side's usually kind of turned up like that. I close it up a little bit to catch the wire better. And I put them on this side up. A lot of people put them on that little tail side down. And I've seen a whole lot of fences that a cow sits on it and it just pushes that little tab down, the fence falls over. So I put them facing up, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that the bottom of the clip, there's a full length on the bottom of the clip to catch that wire, both sides. Slip this through, turn it over until it kind of straightens out, and this has a hole in the end of it. You catch the tail of the clip, and twist it over until your tool pops off. And then the same thing over here. Stick it on, twist it down. That thing's never coming off. I've seen a lot of barbed wire fences that are clipped on with hope. Do it that way, it won't come off. These are the few basic hand tools that I use when I'm doing barbed wire. I don't carry very many. When you're just out putting up barbed wire, it's not a complicated deal, so you don't need a whole lot of tools. I do have other tools I have on the truck, you know, for digging holes and actually stretching the wire. You're gonna need a come along and a wire gripper. Here's a wire gripper. You just put your come along on there and then you slip the wire in that slot and then roll it over to where the wire is on the opposite side of the slot. And as you pull tension, it'll shrink down onto the wire and grip it without marring it. Use a come along, either a chain come along or a cable come along to tighten your wire. Don't use a wire mender. It's not made for that purpose. This is a wire mender. This is made for mending a broken wire on a fence that's already up to pull two pieces back together. This is not meant to stretch 700 feet of wire tight. This will not get it tight enough. It's not made for that. So use a come along and some sort of wire gripping tool. You can also use a cable gripper. I've seen people use those, but I use these, pretty handy. Get them in any farm store. It's hard to find a good pair of gloves for barbed wire that doesn't wear out super easily. Even decent leather gloves I've found, they don't last very long. The best that I've found so far is these gloves by Ringer's Gloves. Roughneck is the model, I guess. And it says Kevlar on it, so it must have some Kevlar in it for cut and puncture resistance. So these are on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description. Basic tool belt. I actually use a tool belt from Home Home Depot or Lowe's, with a hammer loop. And then all I'm carrying is 3 things. So I don't need a whole bunch of pouches or anything like that. I just need a single pouch. And the best one I found so far to carry a massive amount of clips is made by Klein Tools. And it's just a big canvas pouch. I can fill it with clips because that's all I need. So I carry 3 tools with me when I'm doing basic barbed wire fencing when I'm out clipping. First is a good pair of cutters. These ones are by Vevor, and they're actually on Amazon. The search term would be mini bolt cutters. Super handy. I can put that right there. Next is a clip turning tool. So this, the actual search term is K-bar tie or something like that. I'll put it in the description, but an actual tool meant for turning clips. This is made for the purpose. Super handy. It's worth the $5 or $6 that they cost. I've got a bunch of them. And then my last tool is plammers. These are made by Plamco, and I believe they're in Fresno County. These are made in the USA. A small local family makes these. They're well worth the money. They're way better than any fencing plier that I've ever had from a hardware store. They have an actual hammerhead where you can actually hammer some stuff in. Very good cutting mechanism. All kinds of different cutouts for helping bend things, pull clips off, pull staples out, actual forks on the back for pulling out nails if need be. So if you're going to be doing a lot of fencing, or even if you're not going to be doing a lot of fencing and you want quality tools, Plammers by Plamco. I'll put a link in the description for these 2. Then I can just carry those in my hammer loop, and my hands are free. I've got all the tools I need. I can fill this pouch completely full of clips, and I'm ready to go for walking down the line. Hopefully this video helped you out if you had some questions about doing basic barbed wire install and setup. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. See you later.